Dear colleagues and guests, Honorable Dean, welcome to the Faculty of Economics of the University of Ljubljani. Welcome to the Day of Business Informatics, which this year is dedicated to the 40th anniversary of business informatics at the Faculty of Economics. All the flowers of the future are in the seeds of today. Samo v vednost, ker je med nami kar nekaj tujih študentov, se bo današnji dogodek odvil v angleškem jeziku. Just imagine, already in 1978, we had started with information technology as a field of study. Over the past 40 years, business informatics has developed dramatically, so as to become one of the most prospective and sought-after educational programs. Many of you who are here today, certainly more than 40 of you, have contributed in different ways to the image of the present-day business informatics at the Faculty of Economics. I extend a special welcome to you. What is the path of business informatics and what is the path of Faculty of Economics? I am now inviting the Dean of the Faculty of Economics, Professor Dr. Metka Tekaučić, to address us.
Dear President of the Governance Board of the University of Ljubljana, Professor Boric, dear colleagues from other faculties from the University of Ljubljana, dear PhD students, dear other students, and also dear colleagues, it's my great pleasure and honor to welcome you today here at the Faculty of Economics of the University of Ljubljana. We are extremely proud that we could invite you to join us to celebrate 40 years of business informatics at the Faculty of Economics of the University of Ljubljana. Our school, our faculty, started to offer courses in business informatics even before, but 40 years ago we launched the first program in the field of business informatics. A lot of colleagues worked really very hard to achieve this. They were in the department at the Faculty of Economics, which is responsible for informatics and nowadays also for business logistics. Among them, Professor Graf was the pioneer and the first one, and let me say, founder of business informatics here at the Faculty of Economics of the University of Ljubljana, and I still remember my study days because I'm also a graduate of this school. We listened to his course when I studied, and he offered this course together with Professor Resinovic, who unfortunately passed away. Otherwise, I believe that he would also be extremely proud to join us today. Today, the program in business is one of the core business programs within our institution. Although we are called Faculty of Economics, because we were established as the Faculty of Economics in 1946, today this is more or less the issue of brand. Today we are primarily a business school with very strong economics department which supports all our business disciplines. We are known as a triple accredited school in the field of business education, and with this result we are among 1% of the best business schools in the world, and we are extremely proud of this. Today, I would like to use this opportunity to especially thank all the colleagues within our department for informatics and logistics for developing such a good program, which attracts also a lot of foreign students, and we also offer a double degree program in the field of business informatics, which is extremely important not only for our school but also for the University of Ljubljana. dear guests, I wish you a pleasant afternoon. Thank you for joining us, and all the best to the business informatics at the Faculty of Economics, not only today, but also in the future.
Dean, thank you very much. What can the study of business informatics offer our graduates? How does an alumnus of business informatics feel on the occasion of its 40th anniversary? I'm calling to the microphone alumnus Jangir Kola.
Well, I'm really proud to be on this podium. I'm alumni 20 years, so I'm in between. I came in time that Professor College has done the revival of business informatics. At this moment, I would like to propose for the future alumni and also for colleagues to participate more. At this moment, after a few initial years that we had some more enthusiasm, we had some more projects. Now we are in a bit of decrease. And I would say we have three parts. One is alumni from the business sector, one is people, this is a student club, and third is academic professors. We should in future find let's say more perspective projects for the future alumni to find new projects, new jobs, and to be successful in next years, maybe to be downstairs in a bigger hall. So please, after this part outside, we can meet and talk about possibilities for the future. Thank you.
Jangir, thank you very much. Let's proceed further by considering young people. How do our students feel while studying business informatics? Christian Dornic is quite familiar with both this hall and this microphone, since he is one of our most active students. So, Christian, welcome.
Dear Dean, guests, professors, and colleagues, I would like to welcome you all in the name of the Society of Business Informatics and Business Logistics. I'm extremely happy that I see so many people here today. I've seen increase of number every year, which means that we're making an amazing progress in marketing, business informatics, and business logistics. Now, I have been a student for measly 5 years on the Faculty of Economics. When I started studying 5 years ago, when I was a junior, I didn't even know that business informatics existed. I came here, I was clueless. But when I figured it out, I knew that this was one of the best courses I could imagine in my life. I joined it, and I'm never going to be sorry for it. So, in these 5 years, I've experienced a lot of good things, I have a lot of good memories. There was a lot of fun stories, but I'm not going to talk about my stories. I want to hear the stories that were way before me. I would be exact 35 years before me. So I'm just going to end here and let others speak. But before I finish, of course, as always, I need to invite all the students to, of course, join the Association of Business Informatics and Business Logistics. Welcome and thank you.
Thank you, Christian. By the way, Christian, which knowledge or skill gained during your studies do you think will benefit you the most?
I am probably going to say that the best skill, the best knowledge I got is actually how to handle problems. Because, you know, in informatics, it's not always just the typical get a book, look for a solution, you have to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On this topic, I would like to ask all of you, what do you think about this? We have a little survey. If you could please take out your phones, I know you all know how to use them, and go on the web page displayed on this slide. On this page, enter the code that you see up on the slide. So 277477 on www.menti.com. And if you could vote, so we see which knowledge and skills will be the most important for graduates of business informatics in the future. What do you think? I'm going to give you 2 minutes. We will return and comment these results later on in our discussions. Dear guests, do you happen to know how it all started? Please welcome to the stage Professor Dr. Tomáš Turk, who will take us back to the past.
If we want to go back into the past, we have to go deeply into the 70s, I would say, at the beginning of this period, into the year 1973, when we already started and had offered to our students subjects like the introductory courses in business informatics, introductory computing, and even this kind of heavier topics like information theory, for instance, and so on. But anyway, the obligatory courses for each and every student were introduced in this year also. These were courses called Informatika ENA and VA. Informatics 1 and 2, of course. And some interesting thing here is also the observation that we already got our first, let's say, minor specialization. In Slovenian language, it was called razvila, informacijsko-organizacijska usmeritev, razvila, a kind of a weak one. It was actually one course with practice and internship in companies. And the course was about information technology. So if we go on in this time track, we can stop in the year 1978. In this year is actually 40 years ago, and it was quite important for us. And this year we actually introduced our first real specialization about business informatics. And the important thing with this specialization is that we connected the topics of business informatics with other sciences too, and other disciplines, like, let's say, accounting, banking, and so on. The courses that were being taught in this field were also offered in other specializations. Actually, for instance, we had in those times a special specialization in analysis and planning, which is quite interesting from today's point of view. And it ceased to exist. The other thing which is very important for this year is also the introduction of our PhD program in the field of business informatics. And this is quite important. The first graduate, like doctorand in this field, was 1 year after that, in 1979. Our colleague, Professor Ludwig Bogatay, and Professor Grad and Professor William Rupnik were his mentors. So it was really a special time there. So if we go on with the happenings of our program, we enriched our offer to our students also on the postgraduate level. We started to give this possibility to students in the year 1985. In general, our school introduced a reshape of our programs, overall programs portfolio, if I say so, roughly every 5 years. But I'm showing to you here, not to be long, just the major milestones in our history. So besides the fact that we introduced this postgraduate second cycle, as we say today, program, special name was also introduced, another name. Until that time, for instance, PhD study or program was called Management Information System. This is a term which is used mostly in US, in American-speaking or English-speaking countries. However, in Europe, the term which is used is more like informatics. Americans, they don't know what's informatics in general. And we introduced the name which was Ekonomska informatika, which is very similar to the German Wirtschaftsinformatik. So, yeah, that was a kind of, as we say today, business informatics, actually. So the most important things here are also, another specialization was also introduced here on the undergraduate level in the same year. And then if we continue with this history track we can stop in the year 2005 when Bologna happened. Bologna introduced reshaped programs, totally reshaped programs, and also the status of postgraduate level programs, you probably remember that, was a little bit different. Our school was among the first schools, faculties within University of Ljubljani that introduced Bologna programs. And we also decided to cease to offer the old master level program. And that's why in those years we had a little bit of a drop in the intake of students. However, with the strong hard work and commitment, we succeeded to create a very interesting program that will be described also by Mojca afterwards. Actually, if we go back a little bit, these years from 1978 and also in the 19th, this was a little bit of crisis in this field of business informatics, also not just for our school, not just for our university, but also for other schools. For instance, University of Maribor decided to actually cancel the programs in this field for some years. Because of the crisis, I don't know, maybe the mindset was so different in those days that they thought that this field is not interesting anymore. However, we succeeded to prepare interesting topics, and also I would say that one important factor here was the coming internet era, which was started right in the 1995 or a little bit earlier, for instance. And we took the opportunity and we thought and rethought again what's the business informatics really about. And we started to study, let's say, business processes, enterprise architecture, and this kind of topics. So this was really something for us, some new dimensions were discovered, and we decided to go into this direction. Yeah, and today actually we can be very happy with our double degree programs. We have a double degree program with University Nova in Lisbon, in Portugal. It's a very interesting school with a little bit different ideas than we have, but it's a nice mixture. And on the other hand, this year we are introducing a new double degree program with Pforzheim University, which we put quite a lot of effort in this, especially into the structure of the program. It's a nice package for our students. These are some numbers of the number of our graduates. We are proud of each and every one of the graduates. I'm also the graduate of all these programs. Actually, for the first line for business informatics on the postgraduate level, we didn't yet digitalize all the data, so that's why the question mark there. So for the next anniversary, I promise you the number will be given. We have to go deeply into the personal archives with personal data here. But anyway, and of course the number of our PhD graduates is also here. So yeah, this was a little bit of a journey into the past, and I think my personal opinion is that we are standing on the shoulders of giants which did tremendous work in the past. Thank you. I also have a textbook here. We have a collection there of our efforts to, to prepare everything for students to study, really study. Thank you.
Professor Turk, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this journey through time. And we are back in the here and now. Professor excuse me, I'm mixing things up. Professor Dr. Mojca Indikara-Steenberger knows the current situation of business informatics at the Faculty of Economics best. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to see so many people here, and I hope that you will have a chance to make some new people also during the break at the end. But now, let's say a few words about how business informatics is now, regarding our study program and also other activities. Miha, can you put please us back the results for a little bit? And let's check if we teach the right things. So, sorry? Now we can check if we teach the right things or not. So your first choice was business intelligence and analytics. Professor Jaklic, you can be proud. Obviously, the knowledge you give to our students is obviously most valuable. And then we have strategic thinking and innovation. Interesting as well. Business processes and business models are still very important in your opinion. Good news for me too. Okay, and now let's see what do we actually teach. Here are the famous three circles invented by Professor Kovacic. Many of you remember him, right? In these three circles, we actually wanted to show that we give students three kinds of knowledge. We give students business knowledge, technological knowledge, of course some knowledge about information technology is important as well, and also managerial knowledge. Where the content of the circles actually changes from year to year. It is not always the same, because new disciplines come, new professionals come, and so on. However, the basic idea that we have to teach these three things, business, managerial knowledge, and information technology, is actually here from the beginning. Am I right, Professor Graf? Was it like this from the beginning, the idea to give all this knowledge? And I really strongly believe that this is the right knowledge to give, because information technology is simply not enough. And now I see more and more that many companies are seeking for students, our graduates, that have this knowledge. You will meet some of them a little bit later and see how successful actually they are. This is how we measure our success, from the success of our former students. And here I tried to put a big picture about the characteristics of our study program. So we believe that the topics we teach are contemporary. Of course, it is always place for improvement, but it is not enough to teach the right topics. Also, the way of teaching has to be right. What do? We have a lot of project work. You remember, and some of you live this project work now. At every course you have to do a project. Do you like it or hate it? You don't know what to say, huh? But I really strongly believe that projects are actually what you will have to do in your future careers. It is not important to memorize things from books. It is important to be able to do good projects. And through team projects, you are also qualified in teamwork. Teamwork is especially important. And another thing that was also introduced by Professor Kovacic is to invite guests from practice. In almost every class that we teach, we invite somebody from a company, from a public institution to share his or her experience with students. This is how we try to connect with business, and we believe that it is important. By the way, it's also in line with our 3 new strategic goals that were presented to us yesterday. Hands-on work and skills development. This part is now even more emphasized from this year in new study program. We also have some e-learning. However, this is the topic that could be further improved. Then internationalization. Internationalization is everything actually, because you have to be able to function in a global world, global digitalized world. I strongly believe that all of you will live in such world. How do we do internationalization? As you can see, we have many international students. Who is international student here? Quite many, right? Actually, statistical data is that around 120 students enroll in our study program each year. By the way, we are among the biggest programs, maybe even the biggest. And among these 120 students, there are 30 to 40 international students. And it is really not like to be in such a community where students from many different countries come and work together. We also have two double degree programs that were mentioned before by Professor Turk. It is a great experience to spend one study year in Lisbon or in Germany. And it is not all. We also have international professors. There are international professors, for example, from Austria, from Netherlands, from Croatia, from United States, from Canada, that come to teach here. And our professors also go to teach abroad. So the connection is quite strong. And another thing is international exchanges. Around 20% of our students actually go to international exchange for at least one semester. And also many students come from other countries to study here. But everything wouldn't be possible without a strong foundation. Of course, we have to put the results of our research in study programs. Here are our main research areas: business process management and business intelligence and analytics, which is the topic that you said is actually very important for you, are our parade disciplines, actually. I am not going to talk about what are the results of our research in this area. Maybe just one sentence. We try to investigate which approaches are useful, for example, for adoption of business intelligence. So our topics are not technological. They are business topics. Not about, we don't develop new technology, but we try to investigate how to apply new technology in business processes and in business models. This is, these are topics covered in our research. And this research is also done together with many other researchers, not only from Slovenia, from many, many other countries, not only from Europe, also from Asia, also from America, and so on. So we try to be international also in research. And here I have some results. Actually, I don't like to brag. However, some things are to be pointed out. Actually, we are not so bad. As you can see, University in Ljubljana is on the 3rd place worldwide regarding research in business process management. Well, it is not only the result of our department. However, the contribution of our department is really big in this area. And a similar area connected with business intelligence, integrating big data with business processes, a little bit newer area. Again, University of Ljubljana on the 3rd place worldwide. It is not so bad. Would you agree? But actually, there are things I'm even more proud on. I'm very proud that we are also able to help companies. We are also able to work in applied research projects, and we try to do a lot of knowledge dissemination. Here are some pictures. One is from a conference, Business Process Management Conference. We organized this conference for 10 years. Then we have a picture from our new conference, Cutting Edge of Digital Mind. And there are some pictures from seminars, workshops. So a lot is going on also in this area to give knowledge to people from practice. But to conclude, there is one more thing. Do you know what is shown in this picture? Some countries are in red. These are countries from where our students and visiting professors come from. So everybody who is enrolled in our study program is here on this picture. As you can see, most of our students are actually from European countries. However, we also have some students from Asia, also from America, also from Africa. And it is really nice, this international community. And if we added here pictures of countries where our students work now, everything would be red, really. Or if we added countries with which we do research, or where our professors go as visiting professors, then we would color almost the whole world. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm really looking forward for a roundtable discussion where you will meet some of our very successful students, because this is the real measure of the success, in my opinion.
Thank you very much, Professor. Without having close colleagues in the dedicated community, individuals may find it difficult to achieve ambitious goals. Nevertheless, some of them really stand out and dedicate their lives to the goals of the community so that we can all reap the benefits of their work. Dear all, we have invited two formal guests to this event. We would like to extend a special welcome and gratitude to both of them. It's a great honor for us to host Professor Emeritus Dr. Janez Grad here. Professor Dr. Janez Grad was the driving force behind the development of subjects and programs in the field of business informatics since they were introduced in the 1970s, when he also started working for the Faculty of Economics up until 1999. During his work at the Faculty of Economics, majors and programs of the Information System Management or Business Informatics at all study levels and study programs were introduced. His contribution to the recognition of business informatics as an independent science discipline at the University of Ljubljani, following the example of universities abroad, is also extremely important. He is a mathematician by education, but he soon turned to computer science and informatics. He is one of the pioneers of introducing computer science and informatics in Slovenia. He worked with the Jožef Stefan Institute, among other things. He was head of the National Computer Center during the period state-of-the-art computers were being installed at these institutions. He transferred and developed this experience while developing the contents of subjects, majors, and programs in the field of business informatics. His work at the Faculty of Economics was also greatly influenced by his work abroad, especially as a visiting professor at the University of Indiana School of Business, since at that time the most up-to-date contents, which were also lectured elsewhere in Europe and the USA, were introduced in the programs. In addition, he made important steps to internationalize the programs since he involved professors from abroad in the implementation. For the further development of business informatics, his excellent work with the staff was also essential. From the outset of implementing the programs, he took care to involve only the best external associates, professors, researchers, and practitioners. He carefully selected new colleagues from the department, supported them, directed them, and was open to suggestions to introduce changes in the content and modes of work. His contribution to the development of business informatics at the Faculty of Economics may be described as invaluable. I invite Professor Dr. Janez Grad to join us on stage. I'd also like to also like to invite the Dean and Professor Indihar Steinberger to bestow an award on our official guests.
Izjemno sem počaščena, da se vam lahko v tej priložnosti zahvalim za delo, ki ste ga prispevali k razvoju naše univerze in seveda tudi naše fakultete ter naših študentk in študentov. Vidite, da ste zaseljali globoke korenine, ki danes pomenijo že zrasla drevesa. In to lepa drevesa. In mislim, da ste lahko ponosni na to, kar ste naredili. Ne moremo se vam drugače oddolžiti kot z lepim aplauzom in pa eno lepo šopko. Mojca vam pokazuje nekaj navika, Lidija Španzla, tako da kot en tak droben spominček na današnji dogodek. Pa še eno skupno sliko bomo zdaj naredili, bomo za tako z Mojco sosedi.
Zvedel sem še več o sebi, kot sem vedel prej sam o sebi, tako da sem pa popolnoma presenečen nad tem dogodkom. Zahvaljujem se vodstvu in seveda vesel sem, da sem zopet enkrat v sredini, v kakršni sem preživel kar nekaj let, tako da mi je ta dogodek izredno veliko, si ga bom zapomnil za vse. Najlepša hvala za vse te čestitke in to. Hvala.
Dr. Grad, sincere congratulations.
Thank you.
We are very proud to have Professor Dr. Andrej Kovačič here with us. In his rich career, Professor Andrej Kovačič has, among other things, been the Vice Rector of the University of Ljubljani, the head of the Department of Business Informatics and Logistics, the head of the Institute of Business Informatics, and the head of the Master's Study Programs, Management Informatics System and Business Informatics. He became a professor at the Faculty of Economics after a successful career in business. Soon after he arrived, he radically redefined the study program. We introduced contemporary topics and what, for the time, were revolutionary ways of teaching, such as group projects and arranging the participation of guests from practice. Such a study program attracted many students, including several graduates from technical and natural science schools. He also made a significant contribution to the development of the Master's Study Program in Business Logistics. Besides that, Professor Andrej Kovačič has contributed to significantly to develop business informatics with his research and professional work, especially in the area of business process management. Moreover, he greatly influenced the work of other colleagues in the area. Without him, business informatics and business logistics, which are today extremely important at the Faculty of Economics, both from the perspective of study programs and from the aspect of research and professional work, would not have been so developed. His engagement in research, teaching, and consulting activities, and his positive and collaborative approach can serve as an example for younger colleagues. I invite Professor Dr. Kovačič and also the Honorable Dean and Professor to join us. Please.
in če grafika Rudija Španzla, predvsem pa mislim, da tole prijetno razpoloženje in iskren aplavz skupaj s šopkom pomenta lep spomin na praznovanje 40. obletnice programa poslovne informatike. Aplavz za profesor. Še kako besedo rekel?
Tako sem presenečen, sem pa hvaležen vsem in takrat, ko je človek tako presenečen, boš, da nič kaj na to metijo.
We used to work together because when I served as a dean for the first term, he used to be my vice dean. So, Tomasz, I also believe that the first lady of the today's event deserves a bouquet, and the first one goes to Professor Wojciech Nikarski. And of course, all of the colleagues after the event from the department are invited to take a joint picture.
Now we have arrived at the more nitty-gritty part of today's meeting. I will hand the microphone over to Professor Dr. Aleš Groznik and his guests at the round table.
Thank you. Dear distinguished guests, dear colleagues, dear students, I will be host of today's roundtable. I won't be a classical host. I will try to, let's say, moderate in terms of asking questions, not only from my side, but I would kindly invite you to ask questions, so I see this roundtable as a debate rather anything else. First off and foremost,
if you could give me 1 second.
Yeah?
I forgot to show a very special video. So I'm very sorry to interrupt you.
No problem.
We are celebrating today, and our graduates are celebrating with us as well. Some have not stayed in Ljubljana, some have left Slovenia, and some even work outside Europe. Nevertheless, let's take a moment and spend it with them. So.
Hey guys, how are ya? My name is Dan Pike and I live and work in Melbourne, Australia. Yes, I studied business informatics at the Faculty of Economics, University of Ljubljani. Business informatics gave me really two main things. So first of all, I got this strong foundations for my future career. I got this overview of how technology can enable business. But secondly, what I value even more are practical experience. So just to summarize, thumbs up, business informatics, keep up the good work. See ya.
Hi, my name is Anna and I'm from Macedonia. I work as a business analyst at the finance department at the Univerze, and I've been there for the past year and a half. I'm very glad I chose the Business Informatics Master's program at TELU because I think it provided me with the knowledge, skills, expertise, as well as the opportunity to find the job I have today. I would highly recommend this program to any new prospective students. Finally, I would just like to congratulate the Business Informatics Department on their 40th anniversary.
To Switzerland. more precisely from headquarters of Roche Diagnostics, the global market leader in medical diagnostics. IT here is not just a support function, but a very primary, integral part of the core business. My responsibility within the company is taking care of IT demand management pillar for business IT for region Europe, Middle East, Africa and Latin America. However, my path was set many years prior to that when I decided to major in business informatics at the Faculty of Economics in Ljubljani. But time flies, 40 years. I wish business informatics happy 40th anniversary.
And bonjour to all the future students of business informatics. For me personally, the program helped me to explore the world of IT, and it encouraged me to think more towards it. So thanks to that, I am here today at Microsoft France doing data science. I just learned as well that you guys are celebrating 40 years anniversary of the existence of the program. So I would like to congratulate you guys for keeping up with the technology, which is moving forward super fast.
So, now Professor Groznik, sorry for the hiccup, I give the word to you.
So the round table is on. I would kindly ask Professor Grad to join me as a member of the round table. Please, Professor Grad, here we go. Thank you. And then Professor Kovacic, you are next to your long-term colleague, Professor Grad, Thea. Our students are coming in. Hello, Thea. Tjaž. Come in, join us. Join us. Anna, our international student. Come in, come in. Micha. Micha. Ah, here we go. And at last but not least, Tomasz. Thank you. Welcome. As I said, I would kindly ask all of you to start asking questions at any point. Okay? Let's have a debate. This is a celebration. 40 years of, let's say, business informatics at our faculty. Thank you, all of you, for stopping by, taking time. Let's do some questions to warm up, and then we'll proceed as we go, okay? So 2 professors, 5 ex-students, okay? Let me use the opportunity to ask the professors first, okay? Normally, they ask questions. Today, we are going to ask them questions that I believe the answers are going to be interesting. Professor Grad, you are the ambassador of, I would say, business informatics. It all started, as we could see, as an IT. It all started around roughly when I was born, which is a way back. Okay. One question.
40 years ago.
Yeah, let's say 35. Okay. One question I never asked you. Why IT back then, 40 years ago, at the Faculty of Economics? You were actually there. You were the decision maker back then. Why?
Well, it just happened that in the world the production of the computer started in about 1960, 1950. And of course, then the computers emerged only also in Slovenia. And if we wanted to use them, then you have to introduce some studies to learn more about computers and how to use them in the companies and in other professional sites. Informatics, as we understand it today, I think has no real meaning if we don't think about information technology. And as I said, it started in 1960, but you can't imagine how the computers looked like those times. All these areas we see here, it was one computer in Belgrade, IBM 705, and it had 40K, remember, 40K characters of memory, card reader, printer, and 4 disk unit. That was all. But you can imagine what it means to us. It was a whole new world. Nothing like this was existing before. And of course, then we had to prepare to introduce this in schools and in research institutions. At those time, I was engaged with Institute Jožef Stefan, so we used the computer in Belgrade, but at the same time started with courses at different faculties. Our faculty was one of the first that actually introduced study course, informatics we call it, just to give our graduate students some knowledge about the computer, and we didn't talk about information systems at that time.
It doesn't just
We didn't know even much about the word informatics. The word informatics meant at the same those time something with the library. But then, as the computers were so expensive, the University of Ljubljani couldn't afford it to buy, or the faculties were not able to buy them for themselves, so they joined in so-called University of Computer Center, Republic Computer Center, and we used the main system there. First, there were no terminals at all. Later on, it was very important again that we got terminals. It was only card reader and printer. And it was something specific and admirable to us at those times. So that was this. And then later on, you have now something like this in your hands. As I said, in those times there were big machines. And 40 years in one profession is a long distance, it's a long time, and so I can only say everything has changed nearly, so that I am glad to hear new information from you and what's going on today. Thank you.
And I believe you are our youngest master student, okay? You're also an international student. Good news is you just finished our studies and you just got employed. Woo! Well, congratulations. So my question would be, why did you join our studies, our program? What attracted you, and how well prepared you got for the job you're doing now?
when I was thinking about to go out of my country, because I'm coming from Estonia, I was thinking where to go and what to study. I finished marketing and management in Estonia, and after that I was thinking more about technology, information technology, analytics and everything, but at the faculty in Estonia there wasn't this kind of department where I can, I don't know, gain knowledge about analytics or data integrity or information systems. So searching on the internet, I found the faculty in Slovenia, and I really liked the program. First of all, I thought that, it was very, when I see the subject, it was very challenging for me, and I was asking myself if I'm going to find in this research area and everything. But I am really happy that I attended this master program, because first of all, I gained knowledge from practical examples, from a lot of visits that we have from the employees from other companies that have implemented information systems management, and also how they struggle with the problems and issues to implement this kind of systems. And I really like this kind of, I can say, practical examples.
Hands-on, right? Yeah.
Yes, the practical examples from the employees, and also I really liked to see the results. The most of the people will say that the most important is business intelligence and analytics, and I will also agree. But if you are working in a company, you also need to know the business process management and also the strategic thinking, because when there are coming changes every day in the life, and even though if the business process management is established in the company, the changes are triggering some issues and problems, and you need to be prepared. Not only to see in the innovations and in analytical thinking, but also how to establish the process and how to adopt the changes. So I think this master program really taught me about these things and issues that are really practical examples. So I think that with this implementation at my work, I would say that it proved between the other employees that I showed as a really good example, and they hired me.
Great. Thank you. Professor Kolasic, there are 40 years between the situation described by Professor Grad and Anna's masters. Okay? We changed the overall structure of the program significantly. What were the key changes, according to your opinion, that proved fruitful for our students? Because our students are our passion, we could say.
Thank you. In the past, there were huge expectations from informatics, from information systems, especially if you are looking through business efficiency and effectiveness. And you know that results were not so good as expected. There are also some who try to say informatics it's nothing special, it's nothing strategic. You maybe know this book.
IT doesn't matter.
Yeah, Kerr's book. IT doesn't matter. So I'm just trying to prepare on your question. Why we change program at the time? The only reason was to add value, or to say that informatics must have, or we try to understand how informatics can this time had impact on business, on let's say business effectiveness. So at that time, I think the good decision was to spread or to go to the field of business processes, to try to combine processes and informatics or information technology at the time. We had also at the time this human part, or let's say employees part, or sociological, as we can say now. And this combination was successful.
Thank you. Tomasz, actually, when he's gone. Tomasz, you actually turned your life upside down. Actually, you decided to leave Slovenia. If I understand correctly, you...
It was a gradual transition.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, but nevertheless, it was a huge step. If I understand correctly, you live and work in the States at the moment. And we are talking a lot about the changes, okay? And the value, the business value of IT and that stuff. You do not only understand that, you live that. Can you give us an insight of how that looks like and how prepared you got when you were Anna's age, okay? A bit younger.
First of all, thank you for having me here. It's really an honor to be back here. It's 10 years after I was here for the last time. So, and I'm sitting right there, and I see some friendly faces there as well. So, yeah. So my journey, after I left the Faculty of Economics here, actually thanks to Mr. Yuri, I got a job at I would say a pretty large software consulting firm here locally called Marand, where I worked for the next 4.5 years on various projects. My first project there was actually quite interesting. It was a KPI dashboard for the board, built out of CRM data, and I also played around building a small prototype of a churn prediction tool, which was applying very basic stuff we were kind of studying here. Turns out that churn prediction is quite valuable, and that you can make a lot of money by saving customers. So I basically got the right with the founders of this company to build a team internally that was basically serving as a lab. And we were playing around with the latest technologies, building value-added services for mobile carriers, being deployed globally, anything from South Korea, which is a pretty interesting mobile market, to Italy, France, and all of that. And then in late 2010, early 2011, I decided that I wanted to try kind of an entrepreneurial journey. Started a company that was building voice over IP and messaging product for consumers. If you are old enough, you remember this was pre-Facebook Messenger, pre-WhatsApp, pre-Viber, or roughly at the same time. It was an okay outcome. We learned a lot, built a pretty great team, and had an okay outcome. And then kind of I got the ticket, let's say, for the next ride, where we started a company based out of San Francisco called Layer, where my title comes from there. It's a little bit obsolete now, but we'll get there. And Layer basically was a platform, it still is a platform and a service that powers communications in pretty much lots of digital products. Anything from marketplaces to communities to businesses talking to their customers. It's used by large US enterprises from Staples, Nordstrom, Disney, and so on. And I did that 2013 to 2016. Some of you might know that Layer also raised a ton of venture capital, north of $35 million worth of venture capital. I was involved in those fundraising journeys, so I can share some of that as well. But fast forward, my most recent endeavors I've been helping out a venture fund out of San Francisco and Boston, working there as an entrepreneur in residence and kind of trying to figure out what to do next with my life, which is a pretty good place to be. And so that's kind of my journey, right? And I don't think it's necessarily the standard journey you would expect, or that I was expecting when I was sitting here. But a lot of the things that I learned here gave me a really strong foundation, and I still keep coming back to them on a daily basis pretty much. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I had to study here for free, which is not a given, let's say, in the US, right? And that I was able to kind of have this journey. So yeah, so you asked also about how does this plug into the whole system. So, you know, I work on the other side, if you want. If most of you are kind of the customers in terms of bringing informatics into business and kind of discussing that, I've been building products to sell to you, so I'm very grateful that you buy. And the other thing that I do with my teams is basically try to find problems where we can productize things, right? So things that are repeatedly problematic and that everyone is trying to fix by putting together some food picks with some duct tape. We kind of see those problems and build products around that. And I see a ton of opportunity. And I see a ton of opportunity before, and I see even more opportunity in the future because of some fundamental trends which we'll discuss in the future. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. That's what I see, and that's what this place has given me. Thank you again for having me. Thanks.
Josh, you're completely the opposite. You are the corporate guy, okay? So it says.
I don't have a tie, but yeah.
That's a minus. Yeah. That's a minus. Hopefully your boss won't recognize that, but it says Microsoft, so you are by definition a corporate guy, okay? So a question for a corporate guy must be a difficult one, okay? From your point of view, what are the, we're going to get into technology, okay? What are the technologies that you can foresee will affect our lives in the next 5 years? And how?
These technologies could be set as something that are very familiar to us. We're all talking about it. We're full of things. Newspapers are full of them. It could be also perceived to some extent as a hype currently on the technology, but what I see currently, it's absolutely the things that everybody was voting on the full before, but artificial intelligence for sure is one of the things that is, let's say, at the forefront of current technologies that we all perceive as something that will change our lives. On the other side, I don't know, we're still talking about high demand for, let's say, different IoT scenarios which are very connected to big data and artificial intelligence on the end, but still missing maybe the connection to the real business need and business value of these technologies. And the others maybe could be a little bit more advanced, but still are very close to having some real value to our lives, such as, I don't know, quantum computing and so on. I mean, these are the technologies that we're all hearing about, but in reality, from corporate view, are something that we're talking about and trying to do business on a day-to-day basis.
That was a sales pitch. That was a sales pitch.
Absolutely.
Yes, congratulations.
Saying you have passed the exam or?
Yeah, with flying colors, Thea, you work in the environment where data really means business, okay? You're special, a huge company. From your point of view, what will affect your operations most from the let's say, area of business informatics, okay? And in what sense? In what sense? Is it going to be, because energy and energy consumption, that's appealing, and this will increase, and it will change our lives, okay? So there must be something that will shaken actually the overall environment. I'm not talking specifically about your company, but in general, the energy sector, I mean, because I believe it will change a lot. That's my insight, but I would like to hear yours.
Well, it will change in the way that Yash already mentioned with big data, because we have more and more data available, structured, unstructured. We have to gather and then bring some new products, some new business models out of this data that we already have on disposal. Of course, Internet of Things, together with artificial intelligence and combined with energy. That is something that here are the areas that we will develop the most in the future.
Because the overall environment will change. It's not only you as a company, but all the companies and the overall supply chain down to the consumer. This is the big change I see. And it's not only, I'm not talking only energy, other industries as well. Thanks. Last but not least, we were talking about the business change. We were talking about business informatics. I'm sure you deal with innovation, right? You are innovative by nature, okay? Do you think that informatics and innovation go hand in hand? Can you be, let's say, on the top of business informatics if you don't add that component, the innovation part?
Of course, if you're talking about, let's say, the industry that I'm working for, we have a product that it's very difficult to diversify, to make some difference in your competition. So you really have to innovate. So we will not innovate, let's say, with the technology, but we will innovate with business models and how to adopt different technologies that are available and how to connect them to make really leverage on customer, a better customer experience, better value added, a difference, let's say, making life better. So this is all about how to make things work together.
One question, Michael. In your company, do you have a CIO, Chief Information Officer, or Chief CDO, Chief Digital Officer? Or you have both?
None, just a president.
Or are you the man? Or
so we have a president.
Okay.
We have 2 board members.
Okay.
We don't have other chief and so on. So then our director for IT, and I'm the director for new business model and digitalization. So we didn't decide really to have a CEO or something like this.
Okay, thank you.
Because we drive really innovations and different business models through all our pillars. Because we don't want just to centralize the innovation, but really to do things in all the businesses.
Thanks. That was a warm-up, okay? So, I would kindly ask you to think for any particular question for our guests, because it's a debate. I just opened the roundtable. That's something I would like to ask you personally, and then another one. Please answer a question: who in a company should be responsible for digitalization? Multiple answers are okay. If you only feel there is one person that should be responsible, vote for that person. If there are many of them, try to answer the one you feel are appropriate. Are there any questions from your side? Yeah. Whew. There.
Hello, everyone. As Professor Gratz said, when they started with the business informatics program, he felt really excited about the new computer by IBM. So I would like to ask you which one was the technology that you feel more impressed by, and not which kind of technology we will use in the future. Just which one was the one that you really feel special with. Did you understand me?
Is that a question for all my guests?
Yeah.
Yes. So, which technology does impress you most? I've got mine. I won't tell. My answer will be the last one. Okay. Is that fair enough?
Yeah. For example, he talked about the quantum computer. This one seems for me really special. So I would like to know, what do you think about it?
It's technology of the future, for sure, I believe. But with the question you asked us, which was till now for us the most important, I would point out probably, since it was actually in the ages that I was, let's say, growing up and starting to know the technology space, but for sure I believe that internet as such is something that really changed our lives and is still quite, let's say, normal for us, but it's changing our lives daily. So the level of communication that we can achieve throughout this technology, through this set of technologies, is something that is, let's say, in my opinion, most influential for us as well.
Tomasz?
Yeah, I actually think that the fact that we have basically a supercomputer in a pocket that's connected to all other supercomputers is quite fascinating. And that the fact that that supercomputer has probably like 50 plus sensors on it, it's even more fascinating. So I think it's a compounding function, right? When you put all those things together, what is the adjacent universal options of what you can build on top of that? And I think that, to me, that is the combination, and we're going to keep building on that. But like I think Professor Kovac said, or someone else said, that we're standing on the shoulders of giants, actually. I think technology is such a thing that you're always standing on the shoulders of giants, so you have to respect what came earlier and use that to your advantage to what you built further on, right? And with each new thing, the universal options that what you can build expands. So I'm quite excited about things that are in the near future as well.
Yeah, I would like just to say that for me, for example, the first computer I met with it was the one in Belgrade. It was so a different change from before. All, not only in computer business, but in all branches of science. Mathematics, you were not able to use many different methods of simulation, optimization, so on, which are very useful for business process. Nothing was possible because of amount of data, which was not possible to process without the computers. It didn't mean that the first one, which were very simple, didn't meant great success. So that for me itself, the era of new computers, that when it started, this was for me something special. Thank you.
Anyone else from the guests? No? I promised you my answer. I believe that technology always comes in waves. Okay, so there is one breathtaking, and then there are several years when there is a gradual, improvement, and then boom again, a big one. I agree. The internet is let's say, it's huge. The computers you mentioned also. And after that, what we actually have on our mobile phones is unbelievable. I especially like what happened during actually these several decades, because I finished Faculty of Electrical Engineering, okay? And I was myself working on that area. But what I'm actually amazed today are nanorobots. This is something that blew my mind away when I got into that. Okay, this is something that is really just happening, and I believe it will change our lives as much as the first computer did, and then the internet and mobile phones after that. This is the next big thing that
where it comes from. So it's not really free, jokingly. All of us here in this room got a lot out of this program and the school in general, the whole system. But given your pretty radical, pretty extreme journey that you did, what do you think we would need to unlearn when we go that pathway?
Start paying, I guess. No. Well, thank you for the comment. I agree it's not free. I take that back. Thank you everyone for paying your taxes so that jokes aside, yeah, so one thing that I don't know if we would need to unlearn, I think that one thing that I would like to see more, and it comes way before I actually think the university stage, but it's understanding how valuable time management is, or prioritization of like important things over mundane things, so that you can actually get in control of what you do, right, and find the time for the things that matter a lot to you, instead of just riding along on autopilot as the environment around serves you.
We have a lot of it.
I think so, right? I think that is kind of challenging, and if you just follow the same steps that if you want the system is enforcing you, are you really a free person? But now we are out of scope of the debate. Yeah, this is something that I've observed, is that the people that I think I respect a lot and that have done amazing work, the first thing that they really master is how do they spend their time, what do they spend their time on, what is, eventually they decide what's really important and they do it. The second thing is, there is no linear path somewhere, and it's better to grow 3% week over week, or 1% week over week, and so on, instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to study up until here and then I'm going to flatline forever. So that's kind of another thing that maybe should be unlearned, that finishing school is not when we're all done, but that perhaps that's just the start, and at that point you only have the tools to kind of keep learning. So that's for me. But I think other guys probably have better ideas. So.
There was one more question from the audience, I believe.
So I'm not a specialist on the field. Still, I read some books on digitalization, and I remember, for example, that I read somewhere that NASA, when the first man went to the moon, had less technology than each of us today has in his or her mobile phone. And probably you know the Tabs book, Growing Up Digital, and he starts his book with the information that in the 70s, I believe it was in 1974, the CEO of IBM claimed that 1 gigacomputer, or how he called it, would be enough to process all the data in the world. I don't know whether you're familiar with this. Well, yeah, so it's in the introduction to the book. So, I would like to ask you, because I agree with what's shown here, that top management is responsible for the digitalization. What is the most dangerous, maybe, and misleading expectation in the heads of today's manager as regards digitalization? I just would like to see what you mean, because you are all, you are all digitalization fans, and I am not, in fact, but I have to use it, and I know how to use it.
Yeah. I would maybe question about digitalization and how up-to-date the term is in terms of, is this something that we are really doing at the moment? I mean, we're talking about digitalization as such since I remember. More, I would address the term or the fact that it's about some transformation of business models, some implementation of technologies in every company, in every process. It's kind of a transformation we're all talking about. So, I mean, this is the main question for us. How do companies address this transformation, this digitalization, and how technology could actually support it? So it's not only about adopting technology. What I am missing, or what I would put a lot of efforts also from business perspective, is also have more work more on maybe cultural change and how technology changes our lives and how people can adopt it as a person, not just as something that we have like technical stuff and technical solutions, but how this reflects in how people work, how we communicate, and how this technologies actually change the culture within the business, within the company. I mean, this is something that, I mean, we hear about, people talk about it, managers, I believe, are aware of this, that this is a very important thing, but I believe that this is something that could or should be addressed even more.
You can add, yeah, of course you can. Oh, here we go, too much. Sorry.
I agree, 100%. One other thing that, it's an interesting framework to think about digitalization, right? You have companies that existed for a long time, and they need to kind of add this digital component to their whole entire process, business model, and so on. I feel like we here, this group here talks a lot about that, and on the other side, you have companies that are a year to 5 years old that didn't have all the baggage, which is great, so that they can run really fast and start with a completely fresh mindset and DNA. And now the big question, I think, in my mind when looking at this is, can the traditional company, the incumbent with a ton of revenue and a ton of people and a ton of other requirements, either to be security, regulatory, whatever it is, compete with Team 10, which has absolutely like total rascals, right? Like they couldn't care less about the regulatory side. They couldn't care less about, I don't know, your need to put your hours in the system and so on. And they can move really fast and they're really nimble. And so it's a competition, right? I don't know, the best example I can give you is probably Amazon, which started by selling books and competing with bookstores. I don't know if they sell only books today, but they definitely don't operate like a typical retailer, right? They operate as a technology company as its core. And so to me, now following that thought process, all the companies of the future are going to be technology companies at their core, because there is no other type of company, just like a company that doesn't use, I don't know, that where people don't know how to write and how to do math, right? It doesn't exist. And so, yeah, maybe I'm a little bit too aggressive.
No, you're not, because that's music to my ears. I teach digital business for 15 years. This is actually the core of...
The party is just starting.
Yeah, that's true. So let the party start, okay? A lot of hands. There we go. Hey, yeah, sorry.
I have one question, given that you know our interests, pretty much all the people in this room. Is there any special book or movie or whatever you would recommend that you are interested in, or that you think we should see and read? Thank you. Whoever wants to answer.
Books, movies about digital business. Micha, here you go.
I will just share with you what I'm reading now. An old book, but it's really something very good to read many times. 7 Habits of highly successful or productive people, it's a lot of things inside, because it's not about technology just, it's about people, it's about culture, it's about these things, it's really, it matters too. And what I'm really thankful for this school, it's also about all the connections and interaction between people. It is very, very, very important. Some of my best friends comes from this school, so we do not have to forget about this when we're talking about informatics. It's also how we understand each other's, and say the technical guys, business guys, and everything.
Thanks, Mika. Another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Diane. So I'll have a follow-up question. So before you mentioned AI, artificial intelligence, I think twice. I think Tjaž mentioned, and we know that we can hear everywhere that AI will change our lives the most in the future. It will change the way we work, the way we live. It started. We're already using many AI services on our smartphone. So we can expect the same change as the internet, as the smartphones. We can expect that AI will bring in the future. So yeah, and if I look other, let's say, technology or business schools, they're introducing AI courses. Let's say Stanford, or I know University from Melbourne, they do this as well. So my question would be, is AI important for our students for business informatics? And yeah, what are your thoughts of having AI course on business informatics program? Thanks.
That's a question for me?
For basically for everyone.
For all of us?
Who wants to answer? Yeah.
Who wants to answer this? Why, Robin? Huh? Happy?
Sorry for hijacking the session, but so AI is a super interesting topic. I think wildly overrated in the short term, widely underestimated in the long run. Today, most of the AI labeled stuff is nothing more than 40-year-old machine learning algorithms repackaged. So, when you say you should teach AI, a lot of the AI foundation has been taught at this school, at least when I was here. So, if I remember correctly. There are a few super interesting new concepts and developments, but it's a lot of rebranding, and it's a lot of rebranding from my friends in the Bay Area. So I would kind of like say that there is a great book about that, if you like dystopian futures, called Superintelligence, where AI kills us all. There are other approaches where AI is a little bit more friendly, and we leverage it very much like we leverage tools that help us do something today, like helping you draw a straight line. That's machine learning, right? Or when you start drawing a cat, it just finishes your cat, and you can think about how that applies to the fields of architecture, to the fields of industrial design, interior design, and all of that. So I think it's unclear. Again, bottom line, super overrated in the short term. I've seen many kind of companies, applications of this and so on. It's mainly repackaged old approaches. Future-wise, I think super interesting, and you should study it deeply because there's a lot of good stuff to be done. But that said, a lot of people in this room, professors and so on, can give you a really great kickstart with if you change the AI part with the machine learning part.
But Tomasz, that's not only the case with AI and machine learning. That
Exactly.
for many topics.
So my beard is long enough now, and my hair is a little bit shorter since when I was studying. And so what I learned since then is that the majority of things that you see today are very old ideas with a few changes. So one, there's way more compute power. Professors will know that. Way better sensors to collect the data, and just not slightly better algorithms. But when you put those three things together, you get a compound function again, and so that's why we're seeing the acceleration today.